Do you know all the hidden mythology of the Ogre Battle saga? In this video, I'm going to show you all the mythological events hidden among all the games in the Ogre series that expand this universe even further beyond the obvious. The information was obtained through descriptions and reports within the games. There's a lot of conflicting information between the various versions, so when this happens, the most current information will be considered as a reference, that is, that of the most recent game in the franchise. While there are plenty of inspirations from real-life events and people, I'll try to comment as little as possible on those that don't have any context within the game. Are you ready? In the beginning, the Great Father Philaha created the world with the help of his 4 elemental daughters. That's how most storytellers tell this part. But that is not true. I'll tell you what really happened. In the First Age, where it all started. In the time of the First Age, when the cosmos was still in its infancy, there were 2 powerful entities that ruled over all. Bora, the celestial, ruled over the vast expanse of the heavens, while Anum, the terrestrial, reigned over the earth below. Their paths intertwined, and the 2 became inseparable, creating a union that would shape the very fabric of existence. From their divine union, 4 beings of power and grace were born. The first of these was Zashanel, the goddess of fire, whose beauty and strength were unparalleled. She remained impartial in all conflicts, choosing to remain neutral in all matters. Next came Vasexa, the god of the ocean, whose mighty power could command the tides and currents of the great seas. Following Vasexa was Damunza. Lastly, Philaha, the youngest of the 4, was born into the cosmos. These divine siblings were not alone. Other gods emerged, each with their own unique powers and strengths. Among them were Morada, the god of the mountains, whose massive form towered over the earth below. Ilmark, the god of lightning, whose bolts could strike with devastating force. Huitzilopochtli, the god of the sun, whose fiery radiance could light up the entire cosmos. Aranda, the god of clouds, whose form was as ever-changing as the winds themselves. And lastly, Titan, a mighty giant god, whose immense size and strength were unrivaled by any other. A union was formed between Horeb, the god of wisdom and knowledge, and Philana, the goddess of love and justice. Their love was pure and just, and their wisdom was beyond measure. Another union was formed between Vasexa, the god of the oceans, and Phora, the goddess of air. Together, they gave birth to a daughter named Groitza, who became the goddess of water. That way, this is how the heavens would be organized. This formed pantheon would coexist for a long time, until something would happen that would mark the end of the First Era. What could it be? I tell you, Philaha would decide that he would take the post as King of Heaven for himself. The Second Age. The Philaha War. As Philaha's ambition grew, he declared war on his own parents, Bora and Anum, in his bid to become the supreme lord of the gods. The other gods were forced to take sides, and the pantheon was divided by the conflict. In a fierce and brutal battle, Philaha emerged victorious over his mother, Bora. From her spilled blood, Ishtar, the goddess of light, was born. With her sword, Zanzibar, in hand, Ishtar refused to obey Bora's dying wish to kill Philaha. Instead, she joined forces with her brother, adding her strength to his. Anum was defeated soon after, and with his death, a great explosion rocked the cosmos. From the remnants of the battle, a new planet was born, and with it, a new goddess, Vasa, the goddess of the earth. Bora's disintegrated body fell to the planet like meteorites, and from these remnants, a new material was born. This material was named chondrite, and it would become the building block for the armor of dragoons. The death of Bora and Anum caused great sorrow among the gods, and even the god of the mountains, Morata, wept for their loss. His frozen tears gave rise to Liunarum, the goddess of ice, who brought her own unique powers to the pantheon. The fight continued, and Huitzilopochtli, the god of the sun, was killed by Philaha, who took his title for himself. The conflict also claimed the life of Vesex's wife, Phora, the goddess of air. With the end of the war, Philaha emerged as the supreme ruler of the heavens, with Vasa by his side to bring life and abundance to the new planet. Meanwhile, Vesex's daughter, Groitza, found herself drawn to the new god that had emerged with the birth of the world, Zamunza, the god of the feast. As the pantheon adapted to this new reality, Horep and Philana had a daughter who would take up Phora's mantle. This new goddess of air was named Hanila, and she rode through the skies in a chariot carried by the golden-winged creature Vainatia. As the second era unfolded, Hanila, the powerful goddess of air, traversed the planet and breathed life into the winds. 4 gods emerged from her divine touch, each responsible for a different direction. Boreas, master of the north wind, Nodos, sovereign of the south wind, Euros, ruler of the east wind, and Zephyros, lord of the west wind. These 4 brothers, bound by loyalty and friendship, forged powerful weapons in honor of each other. The pantheon of gods stood strong for a time, but their tranquility was short-lived. Demunza, the brother of Philaha, could not bear to be ruled by his younger sibling, and rebelled against him to seize control of the heavens. In the realm of the gods, a new era of turmoil has begun. Demunza, filled with an insatiable lust for power, conspires against his own brother Philaha and convinces other deities to join him in a coup to seize control of the heavens. War once again ravages the divine realm as gods take sides and clash in battle. The god of lightning, Ilmark, fights valiantly but is ultimately defeated and killed. However, before his demise, he unleashes a bolt of lightning that tragically strikes down the newborn son of Groitza and Zamunza. The grief-stricken mother sheds tears of overwhelming sorrow and rage, from which a fearsome creature is born. Teal'c, the god of rain, emerges from the depths of her tears with its many tentacles and a fierce determination to wreak havoc upon the world. But the divine battles do not end there. The mighty Titan rises up against Filaha and the other gods, rebelling against their rule. In a fierce clash, the Titan is defeated and punished for his transgression. Filaha gouges out one of his eyes and hurls him down to the mortal world, where his remains give rise to a new race, the Cyclops, forever marked by the sin of their progenitor. The goddess of ice, Liunarum, joined forces with Damunza to challenge Filaha's rule. With her icy powers, Liunarum erected unbreakable barriers that even Filaha's blazing sun could not pierce. In the midst of the battle, Damunza sensed his impending defeat and seized the opportunity to escape to the abyss, the realm of the dark gods, where he could reign as king. Liunarum recognized the hopelessness of their cause and surrendered. Filaha, in his wisdom and compassion, forgave the ice goddess for her betrayal and allowed her to remain in the pantheon of gods. The unity of the gods was restored, but the memory of Damunza's treachery lingered like a dark cloud over their realm. As the years passed, the pantheon of gods found a certain stability and the planet they created thrived with life. In the heavens, the love between the goddess Philana and the god Horeb was slowly fading away. Philana would separate from Horeb and seek comfort in the arms of the god Aranda, bearing a daughter with him. The child would be called Nestorat, and she would become the goddess of lightning, taking over the post from the late Ilmark in the pantheon of the gods. The third era dawned and brought with it a sense of unease, as rumors started to spread about the return of the banished god Damunza. It was said that he had been biding his time in the nether realm, the abyss, waiting for his opportunity to strike and take the planet for himself. The gods could feel his dark presence lurking in the shadows, and they knew that a new war was about to begin. Will the gods be able to stop Damunza's advances and protect their creation from falling into darkness once again? As the fourth age dawned, the goddess Vasa graced the planet with her presence, bringing bountiful blessings and abundance to all living things. To protect her during her travels, Vasa created a mighty golem from the earth itself, calling it Nathalak and imbuing it with incredible strength and unyielding loyalty. During one of her journeys, Vasa met a mortal king of a human kingdom, and the two fell deeply in love. Their union was unprecedented, as no god had ever before taken a mortal lover. From their love was born a child, a demigoddess named Danica, who was blessed with the power of fertility and brought great joy and happiness to all who knew her. But even as the planet flourished and Vasa reveled in the joy of her mortal love, dark forces were stirring in the depths of the underworld. The god Damunza, still seething with anger and thirsting for power, watched from the shadows, plotting his revenge and biding his time. And soon, his moment would come. His eyes glinted with an evil gleam as he saw his chance to strike, to take what he desired most, power, and control over all mortals and immortals. With a sly grin, he slipped through the veil that separated the worlds and made his way to the land of mortals. There, he found Danica. She was alone and vulnerable, the perfect target for Damunza's sinister plan. With a wave of his hand, Damunza spirited Danica away to the abyss, deep within the underworld. He corrupted her mortal side and twisted her thoughts, making her his queen and ruling by his side. News of Danica's disappearance soon spread throughout the land of the gods, and her mother Vasa and her human father, the mighty king, set out to find her. Their journey led them through dark, twisting passages, past rivers of fire and hordes of restless spirits. At last, they arrived in the heart of the underworld, where Damunza sat upon his throne, with Danica by his side. The king and Vasa pleaded with Damunza to release Danica, but the god was not so easily swayed. He made a deal with Vasa, promising to return Danica if the goddess would bless the underworld with fertility and prosperity. Vasa, knowing the importance of family and sacrifice, agreed to the terms. With a heavy heart, she blessed the underworld, and Damunza reluctantly kept his word, returning Danica to her family. But the price of this agreement was steep. Damunza used the power granted by Vasa's blessing to build a formidable army of cursed creatures, ready to wage war against the mortals and immortals alike. The great god Damunza marshaled his forces and sent a horde of cursed creatures to conquer the land. From the abyss of the underworld, he unleashed his wrath, a torrent of death and destruction upon the world. This conflict would become known as the Ogre Battle. The ogres, monstrous beasts of terrible power, wreaked havoc wherever they went, and it seemed as if no force in the world could stand against them. Entire cities were reduced to rubble, and the land was stained with the blood of the innocent. Philaha then creates a special army to help the humans against the ogres in the last battle. This sacred battalion was comprised of angels, saints, and sages, each possessing their own unique abilities and strengths. Together, they descended from the heavens, their glorious presence lighting up the battlefield like the radiant sun. The other gods were also ordered to help, and it is believed that all played a role in some part of this conflict, with the exception of the goddesses Zashanel and Nestorat, who chose to remain neutral. The water goddess Groitza was responsible for commanding the armies of Philaha. The Balmakan people, humans with dark skin and admirable physical strength who inhabited a continent to the south, were taken to the continent of the battle, probably the action of the god of the oceans, Vasexa. Even mighty human warriors and heroes from ages past were brought to the battlefield. And so it was that the armies faced the hordes of cursed creatures in the greatest conflict the world had ever seen. The ground shook and the heavens rumbled with the clash of arms and magic as divine and mortal fought side by side against the monstrous ogres. But victory was not easily won, and many heroes fell on the battlefield, their names forever etched in the annals of history. In the end, it was Nestorat who delivered the final blow to the ogres. Though she had remained neutral throughout the conflict, her sense of fairness and order compelled her to bring the ogres to trial for their crimes against the living. With a wave of her hand, she banished them to the abyss, where they would remain for millions of years. With the ogres defeated and justice served, the creatures of the world could finally begin to rebuild what had been lost. Though scars remained, the wounds of the Ogre Battle would eventually heal, and life would once again flourish on the blessed land. Meanwhile, in the pantheon of gods, we have the following setup. This is the end of the Fourth Era. This is the current age. It is not marked by conflicts between the gods, but by conflicts between humans. In the dawn of the Fifth Age, a new era of humans began. With civilization came the birth of new gods, such as Livala, the god of sound, whose harmonious voice could soothe even the most savage beasts. Julmalun, the god of the hunt, whose skill with a bow and arrow could take down even the most elusive prey. And Chaldea, the goddess of beauty, whose radiant form inspired poets to sing praises of her divine grace. Among the known gods, there was also the messenger of the gods, Hermes, who traveled the world delivering messages to mortals and immortals alike. In whispers, it was said that a goddess of time and a goddess of mercy existed, though their names were never spoken, so I decided to put them as the first word of the item in which they are referenced. Philaha was said to have an heir, a child named Shams. The gods wondered what fate this child would bring and what powers he might hold. But with the rise of humanity came also the rise of conflict. Wars were fought, empires rose and fell, and the struggle for power and resources continued. Yet despite the turmoil, there was hope that one day, a time of peace would come at last. The writings of the gods ends here, with the pantheon of gods in heaven configured as follows. Philaha's private army works through hierarchy, as shown below. The archangel known so far is Shar, who ends up rebelling against Philaha soon after and falls from grace to the abyss, a reference to the story of Lucifer. Angels also become vengeful when humans attempt to replicate divine powers, becoming ethereal visions and attacking humans. Still referencing Christianity, we have the figure of Lord Lodis, a saint who says he was sent to earth to spread teachings that should be followed and put an end to polytheism. It is even mentioned 10 commandments of Philaha and the forbidden fruit, precisely the one that is able to transform those who eat it into ogres. In the Ogre Battle, 12 Saint Sages were sent to the planet. These created the Zodiac Stones, inspired the creation of a religion, the Roshful Faith, and then returned to the heavens. In the latest game, there are 12 heavenly generals, so are they the 12 sages who returned to heaven? The 12 heavenly generals are inspired by Buddhism, so this could be a parallel made in the saga. If the correlation is true, then the 12 sages are Vija, the most martially adept. Enja, the punisher of men's crimes. Mithriya, the one who extends the hand of salvation to deserving mortals. Ijana, the one who staves off disease and calamity. Chandra, the one who borrows the power of the moon in battle. Vayu, the wisest. Indra, the one who crushes the desires of mortals. Rakshas, the one who brings destruction and devastation to this world. Ahirama, the one known as an ogre among the 12. Ajirama, the great revealer, who protects and preserves the teachings of the gods. Aditi, the one said to be a scourge upon mankind. Saranga, the one said to have shot a great demon with its bow. There is also reference to Norse mythology in Ogre Battle. The floating island Muspelm is probably where the flaying giant Surt used to live. Thor is also mentioned and can even be summoned through tarot cards. Sleipnir, Yggdrasil, Jormungand, all are mentioned, but why aren't they seen? There was probably the destruction of this pantheon at some point, as mentioned in Surt's weapon, and what was left fell to the planet. Remnants are likely Baldur ores that are used to amplify magical abilities, and the race of giants that are found on some continents may be descended from this pantheon. And the Abyss things also seem to work through hierarchy. Dumunza is the king of the place, ruling over all others. Below them are the Dark Lords. Ashmedai, the god of darkness, is well known for being one of the greatest commanders of the armies in the Ogre Battle, and who now assists mortals who ask for his help. The Palace of the Dead was erected in his honor. Diablo is also well known for his ferocity. Below them are the higher demons. Gaff was one of the commanders of the armies of the Abyss who ended up exiled on the planet, but was defeated and returned to the Abyss. Dagon is a powerful demon of the seas, and Rook a powerful bird that served as a mount for ogres in war. Below them are the rest of the inhabitants of the lower plane, such as orcs, vampires, evil spirits, Saturos, among others. Prominent beings in this group include spirits who manage to possess human forms on the higher plane despite the banishment of ogres, such as the Wiki Beelzebub and the Sea Wiki Sirene. Interesting are the writings that apparently speak of two groups in this area. Scholars from the Abyss are beings that develop spells. One of the groups that is related to the emergence of magic on the higher plane are the Dragon Lords, so maybe they are the same beings? The most famous of the Dragon Lords is the Master Craftsman Daedalus, known for building the Palace of the Dead and developing extremely powerful equipment. The Forgers from the Abyss are responsible for creating cursed weapons, including the set that the ogres use, so they must probably be formed by ogres. Now going into the earthly realm, there is much more diversity as opposed to hierarchies. Several beings inhabit this plane, and the descriptions tell many fascinating stories that I would like to share with you guys. The planet is inhabited by the human clans, the Giant Clan, the Lizard Men and Lamia Clan, and the Hawkman Clan. There are also mystical beings, beasts, sea creatures, and dragons inhabiting the continents. Starting with the Giant Clan, we have the variations of Normal Giant, Fire Giant, and Ice Giant. Among the highlights of this race is Firbolg the Frost Giant, a powerful giant who used a shield. The existence of the giant Viroth is also mentioned, but the information is conflicting. Either he fought against the ogres, or he fought in favor of the ogres. Perhaps what may have happened is precisely what happened to several humans in the Ogre Battle. Fear corrupts and makes one become an ogre, so perhaps Virath initially fought the ogres, was corrupted by fear and dread, and ended up betraying his race and allying himself with the ogres? Among the giants is also the race of Cyclops, coming from the lineage of the dead god Titan. They divide into Cyclops, Spriggan, and Titan, perhaps those of a purer, and therefore more powerful, lineage from their progenitor. In the reptile clan, we have representatives Lizardman and Lamia. These are therefore the male and female of that race, the most powerful being called Patriarch and Matriarch. Although most lizard men have green scales, there is a variety with red scales. These are known to be extremely violent, even with their own race, and for this reason they are usually expelled and live isolated around the world. In the Hawkman clan, we have three variations. They are the common Hawkman, Eagleman, and Ravenman. What differentiates them is usually the color of the wings, which also varies according to the continent in which they are born. With regard to sea creatures, the best known are the octopus and mermaids. Mermaids are divided between normal mermaids and the stronger ones known as Nixie. In octopus, we have the normal version that needs to be in the water to show its full potential and much more powerful versions called kraken. These sea monsters are able to control water and invoke it at will. For this reason they are deadly both in water and on land. Now for mystical beings, fairies, gremlins, and elemental spirits are covered. Gremlins are little flying monsters that like to have fun, and for that reason they are much simpler. On the fairy side, we have much more information. We know that they have three possible variations, each one stronger than the last. They are the normal fairy, pixie, and sylph. Fairies have the knowledge to travel between dimensions to get to places faster. This is explained in the items that allow this ability. Apparently, the fairies organized themselves on an island with their ruler named Titania. Information about this leader is conflicting between games, being called both king and queen. So my assumption is that Titania is not a proper name, but rather a title given to the highest leader of the fairies, who can be either a male creature, therefore a king, or a female creature, therefore a queen. Spirits and elementals are powerful beings representing elements that those who wield magic can summon to lend their powers. Among some elementals that are mentioned in the saga, we have the Firebird, representing fire. Undine, Merid, and Kaeldfolch represented water. Perkunas and Thunderbird representing thunder, Jinn and Sylphide representing wind. Deo and Gnome represented earth, Wendigo representing ice. And Wisplights and Agonista representing light. While humans have access to these lesser spirits through their spells, draconic spells are much more powerful because they have access to much stronger elemental spirits, such as the invocation of the fire spirit Ifrit. Now, regarding the beasts that inhabit the world, we have a lot of detailed information. The most common being the griffin and the cockatrice, but there are also records of hellhound, basilisk, hippogriff, openincus, and sphinx. A legendary beast is the phoenix, known to be immortal, and for that reason it is believed that its blood can bring immortality to whoever drinks it. A myth that was also spread regarding mermaids of old. A very rare creature that is mentioned is the chimera. Its characteristic is to be a beast with the body of a bird, shell of a turtle, and tail of a snake. Its wings can be used to make flying shoes, and its tail to make petrification remedies. There are two creatures that are probably brothers that came from the abyss during the Ogre Battle. They are the Thunder Beast Nu and the Storm Beast Zolitl. An interesting story that is told in the descriptions is that the one who fought the Storm Beast Zolitl apparently had his giant sword, which was the size of a man, split in two. The two weapons that reference something along these lines are Makuawitl and Bringer of Light. Could it be that these two were originally the legendary sword that faced the beast? Another named creature in the game is called Byak. All there is to it is that she had fangs. What would she look like? In legendary birds, we have mention of Garuda, a creature known to devour dragons, and Hraesveld, an eagle known as the Great Winged Beast. Around the continents, in the Abyros Sea, powerful sea monsters of legend are reported to exist. Some of them already named are the Whale, Whale, and Leviathan. Most common animals that are mentioned but not shown in the game are the unicorn, where its materials are used to make various equipment and items, and cassowary, a supposed animal that has gone extinct. Now talking about the human clan, there's a lot of detailed information in the documents. Most humans have fair skin, but those who have darker skin and inhabit the continent to the south are called Balmakans. Humans can be infected with two different infections that transform them into different beings depending on the time of day. They are the werewolf and the weretiger. Furthermore, humans and other beings can be corrupted by the darkness of Ashmedai, the god of darkness, turning them into slaves to his most evil vices. They are mainly characterized by their ability to take lives and excessive violence, in addition to being more powerful than normal beings due to the power of the abyss. Some of the humans named as important by the documents are the monk Benke, the sculptor Bacchus, the wizard called Holu, the warrior named Iskindel, and the hero Iskandelvi. Unfortunately, there are no further details of these people's deeds. In the mystical arts, we have some names that stood out in history. One of them is Soto, who was a human disciple of the evil god Diablo. Also mentioned is the powerful wizard Solomon, who was able to control demons. The alchemist Gatham, who was able to summon Ashmedai and make a bet with him. Gatham won the bet, and that's why Ashmedai is obliged to help humans who ask for his help, for example through dark spells or the Devil Tarot. Ripple, who was a wiki who harnessed the power of the stars. Melitza, a powerful archmage. And Liebel, a powerful witch. These three figures probably ventured through the corridors of the Palace of the Dead and did not survive, being some of the tombstones that are there belonging to these figures. A mysterious figure is called Skyfarer in the documents, which is probably related to some wind power. Was it a reference to Skywalkers? Another very important mention is the existence of elves in the world of Ogre Battle. Capable of forging powerful equipment, they live in Sherwood Forest and are protected by Dryad, the forest nymph. Most likely this location must be close to Lodi's. Expanding the traditional map of the Ogre Saga, we have reports of several other locations not shown in the games. This is where it gets interesting, my friends. Shipang is a kingdom that lies east of Zenobia and is inspired by Japan and China. That's where weapons like katanas come from. A mighty blacksmith of that nation is called Forkson Takasumi. It is from this region that the samurai Musashi originates, a reference to Miyamoto Musashi, the most famous samurai in Japan, creator of the most important treatise on Japanese strategy, the Book of Five Rings, and creator of a style of fighting with two swords known as Niten-ichi Ryu. It is from this region that the Awakener originates, a high priest who faced the beast Hosen. Furthermore, it is very likely that this person was responsible for sealing the ice demon within the bead-bound blade. There's also mention of an ancient hero named Guan Wu. Most likely a reference to Guan Yu, one of the greatest warriors in ancient China. He was very strong and feared by his enemies, and he is also the creator of the famous weapon, Guan Dao. There are two interesting pieces of equipment that mention an unnamed legendary sword master who defeated 100 enemies. Most likely his name should be Benkei. It may be a reference to Saito Muzashibo Benkei, who was a Japanese warrior monk. Many give him the attributes of a demon, a monster child with wild hair and long teeth. In his youth, Benkei may have been called Anawaka, or Demon Ogre Child, and it is said that he defeated 200 men in each battle he was personally involved in. It makes perfect sense a reference like this around here, don't you think? There is also mention of a barbarian tribe called the Galaba. Maybe that's the name of the barbarians from an eastern continent who attacked Palatinus at the end of Ogre Battle 64. This is the only reference to a barbarian tribe in the series, so let's include them in the map anyway. Within Zenobia's current realm, there is the Dalma Desert. It is in this place that an ancient kingdom called Habarim used to be, and that now the warriors use their lost weapons. Speaking of weapons, the blowguns all come from Bobo Island via the Gurgis tribe. As this weapon is only available in the Valerian Isles, most likely this island is only close to that region. Most likely these weapons are replicas of the original version given to these people by Femak, the Lord of Dawn, which is perhaps another name given to Philaha by this tribe. To the south of these islands is Balbode, a continent based on industrial France, from which firearms are developed. To the west of these islands is Hate, a kingdom that will unify with the Valerian Isles 1,000 years after the end of Tactics Ogre. We also have reference to ancient Mesopotamian kingdoms in the Ogre Battle saga. Chaldeans are referred to as Galteans through musical instruments. There's also reference to the ancient kingdom of the Maestralians and the Phoenicians. Lord Rosenzi was liege of Felinias and developed the famous shield that was used in the Dorgalua War. To combat this powerful shield, an even better one was created, which was even used to kill Rosenzi directly. Another interesting event of this time was the imposition of the unique religion of Philaha through the order. Many places worshipped other gods as superior, for example in Palatinus, where the supreme goddess was Vasa, the goddess of the earth, and in Valeria, where one of the supreme gods worshipped was the god Vask, the god of the oceans. The documents tell that there was a dispute between the heretical and hunters of heretics, in which both sides used whips against their opponents. The Order of Philaha won, and Vask's worshippers isolated themselves to the northwest of the island, creating a village of the same name. One of the most mysterious stories is told in 3 items: Crescent Bow, Diodora's Song, and Noah's Promise. The first tells about a woman in love who sends a letter to the heavens. The second speaks of the spirit of a woman separated from her partner, and the third of a man who transformed himself to look for his partner. What if all these stories are actually just one story? What if Noash and Diodora were a couple that got separated when Noash was forced to go to war? Diodora may have been sad because she thought she would never see her lover again, and so she shot an arrow into the sky, asking her and her partner to be together again. Some god decided to grant this request and turned Diodora into armor and Noash into a weapon, in which now that you, the player, have managed to obtain both, the souls of the lovers have found each other and are finally together again. It's speculation, but it could be true. There is a lot of information about ancient rulers of the world of men. It is written of a ruler named Saint King Oberon. Most likely he was the one who named the ocean after him and must have had the holy knight Loron in his service. It is written of King Ambition, a king who received a mighty sword from a god in his name. As he was a human, he did not have the ability to use the full power of the weapon, so when he died, the sword was taken by Archangel Shara, who was able to use the full potential of the divine weapon. Another who had a powerful weapon, an ice spear, is called King Zamora, but there is no other information about him. There are reports of several stories of an ice kingdom to the north. In this place ruled the Ice King Horibus, who had his soul sealed. This information is very interesting because in the description of the creature called Lygensul, it is said that Lyunarum, goddess of ice, turned a cruel king into this creature as punishment. Perhaps the two legends are connected? Did Lyunarum punish Ice King Horibus by sealing his soul into a weapon and his body turning into a chimera? There is also mention of a northern hero named Nibald who faced and defeated the dragon Isberg. A mausoleum was probably built for this hero. Another legend involving dragons is that of the hero Sigurd, who faced and defeated the dragon Fafnir, the Darkworm. From various parts of this dragon, powerful weapons were created. Finally, the last topic of this video is going to be about them, the dragons. This ancient race of winged reptilian beasts is divided into 2 types, worms and dragons. In the first group we have the worms and their stronger versions, the wyverns. In the second group we have the common dragons, which have elemental affinity. They are flame, flood, frost, thunder, earth, cloud, arc, and dark dragon in addition to Hydra. When these dragons grow stronger, they become revered entities by humans due to their power. This is the case of Quetzalcoatl, Flarebrass, Atsy-Dehaka, Bahamut, Scylla, and Crystal Dragon. In the documents we have the description of the dragon Tiamat, in which its parts were used to make weapons, as well as Vikrant the ice worm, that its scales served to make armor. Sentiatl the mage worm and Tirano the mage worm are other dragons that gave rise to powerful weapons from their parts. Another completely separate category is the so-called divine dragons. These absurdly powerful beings combine the powers of God and demon together, creating a creature that punishes all who dare challenge them to take those powers. Proud, these beasts only allow themselves to be fought in a one-on-one duel to ensure that whoever vanquishes them is worthy of power. The only known ones in that category are Bytolf, a divine dragon who fought the legendary dragoon knight Fogel. They fought for 7 days and 7 nights until Fogel was victorious. However, Bytolf cursed him, and for that reason he now has the appearance of a humanoid dragon. Bytolf was reincarnated again much later, this time being challenged by the Deva Luvalin. Luvalin, with the help of his black sword, managed to defeat the dragon and bathed in its blood, which made him extremely strong and resistant, standing out among the 4 Devas. Another divine dragon present in the saga is called Graznui. He is seen walking around Palatinus, sparing the lives of innocent people who cross his path and punishing with death all those who seek his power. Finally, we cannot finish without talking about him. The great hero of mankind against the ogres in the legendary battle. None other than him, Lexar Firecrest, or also called Lexar Fireseal. The great warrior chosen by the gods to be the king of humanity, he received the Holy Grail as a symbol of the one who would unify all the kingdoms under his command. Another interesting detail of Lexar is its connection to the Firecrest, which it describes as being the essence of a divine dragon. So what could have happened there? Did the gods provide him with this power? Or did he face and defeat a divine dragon alone, acquiring its power in this artifact? Or maybe, was Lexar a human with the ability to transform into a divine dragon? We'll never know, but it's still a great story to tell. These are all legends and myths hidden throughout the Ogre Battle saga. Which one did you like best? Comment below. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and see you next time with more videos from the Ogre Battle saga.